So today we are going to study about the Industrial Revolution. First, what is a revolution? A revolution is any significant change or a breakthrough that brings about a permanent change in things. For example, if we talk about the introduction of internet, the computer era, the mobile phone era, can you imagine the times when there were no cell phones, no internet? Would you like to go back to those times? No. It was a significant breakthrough that brought about a permanent change in the system of working. So today we are in the technological advanced world where internet is the very basis. So it was a revolution which changed everything. So one such revolution which changed the system of working, the mode of production was the industrial revolution. It was related to the industries, the beginning of the industrial culture, the industrial revolution. Let us see what was this industrial revolution. So industrial revolution was basically a shift or a change of system of production from the domestic system to the factory system. Now what was this domestic system? Domestic system was a system of production where the manufacturing of the goods or whatever material is being produced, it was done by the artists who were working at their homes and using simple tools. For example, like manufacture of a shirt happening. So the artist, he'll be working from their homes, whatever tools, needle, thread, whatever they have, they are using at their homes and manufacturing shirts. So only a limited supply could be made. But then came the factory system. What was this factory system? A system where the production was now done in factories. So there were these structures developed known as the factories, a building setup where the machines were installed which were owned by the rich capitalists. And here now the workers would come to this place, to the factories, use these machines to manufacture goods or to produce, say for example, the shirts. So this was the factory system. Unlike before in the domestic system where the workers, they were working from their homes using simple tools to manufacture goods, now they were this factory system where these factories were set up having machines where the workers would come, use the machines to manufacture goods and produce the goods. So from simple manufacturing of limited goods, now there was large scale production of goods happening in the factories. So this shift from the domestic system to the factory system is the industrial revolution. You can have a look at the picture that shows the industrial revolution, the rise of the factory system in Great Britain. These are the factories that were set up, and these are the factory workers who are going to these factories using the machines to manufacture goods. So you can have an idea how the factories came up, bringing about this shift to the factory system. Talking about industrial revolution, let us talk about its features. Where did it come up? What was it? How did it come up? And so on. First thing we see is that the industrial revolution, it started in England in around 1750 AD. What was it? It were the series of changes which brought about this shift or the transition from the domestic system to the factory system. So all the processes that led to this transition from the domestic to factory system are the changes which are referred to as bringing about the industrial revolution. This was the revolution that happened at the factory system of, or the factory mode of production is now coming up. It was the beginning of the machine age when now man will be relying highly on the machines for the production of goods. It started in England due to the several changes which happened in the period between 1640 to 1660. This period is known as the period of English Revolution, when many changes took place in the political and economic scenario of England that facilitated this industrial revolution. Now, what were the changes that happened? First thing, in the political scenario, we see that there was a shift of power. Now the monarchy, it weakened and the English Parliament gained more authority. It strengthened. The English Parliament system became more strong. We see that the English Parliament, it had the members, it had important traders and the businessmen of that country. They were the members of the English Parliament. Now, when they had more authority to take decisions regarding the country, they now took such decisions which favored trade and businesses, leading to rapid economic progress of the country, which eventually contributed to the Industrial Revolution. So, this shift of power from the monarchy to the English Parliament, who were dominated by the traders and business class, it helped in the rise of the Industrial Revolution. Then there were other factors like the abundant supply of natural resources. England was very rich in natural resources like coal and iron, and these are certain requirements which are very essential for any factory to boom, to flourish. So, when they had this good supply of natural resources, it obviously facilitated the growth of the Industrial Revolution. Then another factor was England had a strong navy and all the exploration and voyages that took place. It further helped in acquiring more colonies. We see that the England people, the Britishers, they came to colonize India as well. India was a colony of the Britishers. So they acquired many such colonies. Now, how did acquiring of colonies helped in the Industrial Revolution? Colonies were of great advantage. Two main purposes this served was, first was they supplied the raw materials. For any factory, they needed, for manufacturing of goods, they required raw materials. Now, they can acquire these raw materials from the colonies at very low prices. They can get this raw material easily. So, colonies provided them with the raw materials. Second thing, colonies served as the markets for the finished goods. So, they were supplying the raw materials. These raw materials were used by England factories to manufacture goods. Once a finished good has been produced, now it has to be sold somewhere. So now it was being sold in the markets of the colonies. So that is how colonies were of two advantages, providing raw materials and serving as markets. So this further helped in the growth of the Industrial Revolution, the acquiring of colonies. Then another important thing was the improving transportation system. There was construction of roads, railway networks, canals were being made. This facilitated the transportation of goods from one place to another. Raw materials can easily be brought from far off regions to here. Now from England, finished goods could be taken to far off places easily. So this further helped in the Industrial Revolution. Another important factor was the spirit of scientific inquiry. The age of reasoning, questioning that we studied, experimenting, exploring, finding out things. This led to many great inventions. Many machines were built up. Many new machines were invented at this time, which facilitated this shift to the factory system. New machines coming up, leading to the setting up of factories, further helping in the growth of the Industrial Revolution. So these all changes that took place during the English Revolution time, 1640 to 1660, they gave a further push or helped in the growth of the Industrial Revolution in England. Talking about the factors which led to the Industrial Revolution to start off in England. Why did the Industrial Revolution start in England? Why not at any other place? We see that there were certain factors which favored the rise of or the growth of the Industrial Revolution in England. Let's see what those factors were. First was political stability in England. There was no political turmoil or chaos in England. We see that there was a shift, there was a smooth shift of the power or the authority from the monarchy to the English Parliament. English Parliament, just as we discussed, had more traders and business class as its members who favored economic policies which led to the industrial growth or the Industrial Revolution. So we see there was political stability with the traders and business class having power, favoring the economic policies, leading to the economic growth and favoring the Industrial Revolution. So that was one major reason. Second was acquiring of several colonies by England. What advantage were the colonies? Colonies served two advantages. One, they provided raw materials to the factories. Two, they served as markets for the finished goods. So that is why acquiring colonies further helped in the rise of the Industrial Revolution. Third thing was the accumulation of the capital. or profit or the money through the overseas trade. So we see that British had a very vast trade network, and it was doing very good as compared to its rival powers like France or the Dutch people. It was doing very good. The spice trade with the east, it was benefiting a lot from that. It would take the spices from the east, that is India and other regions nearby, at very low prices, go and sell them in Europe at very high prices, so it would benefit from that. So the overseas trade, because of the strong navy, good shipping industry that England had, it had developed a very good trade network, and it was benefiting a lot, earning a lot of money. So the profit that it was making, it could invest it in the industries or in the factories that it was setting up in the country. So this trade, the profit being made from the trade, was helping in the growth of the industries and the industrial revolution. Then the availability of natural resources, as discussed, England was very rich in the availability of these abundant of natural resources were available. The iron and core, which are very essential for any factory to set up and to flourish, these supplies are very important. And if they're naturally available, so obviously at low prices or almost free, you have these availability. So it will further lead to the, easy setup of easy functioning of the factory. So the availability of natural resources like iron and core further gave a boost and helped in the growth of the industrial revolution. Then another important thing was the end of serfdom. With feudalism coming to end, that is the end of the Middle Ages, feudal system, it came to an end. So all the laborers who were tied to the lands till now, they were freed. So there was a large supply of people who were free now to work as laborers. So this supply, there are more number of people available to work as laborers. They will be cheap labor available. So they can hire workers easily. They had a lot of supply of people who were ready to work as laborers or the workers. So now they can work in the factories at low prices. So it will further help. So there was no shortage of labor. That further helped in the growth of the Industrial Revolution. Then there was this enclosure movement. What was this enclosure movement? Where these large landowners, they were consolidating their lands. They were, instead of having small lands, they were consolidating them, bringing them together and fencing them around, leading to consolidation of land. So these small peasant landholders, they were obviously not allowed to continue their work, and they were ousted from their lands. So this led to the freeing up of these small peasants also, which now began to be available as laborers. So there was no shortage of labor with the consolidation of large landholdings happening and the freeing of these small peasants. Then we see another major factor was the large shipping industry and developed transport system. This transport system, this helped in carrying goods from one place to another. Now through ships and through construction of roads and railway network, the raw materials or any particular good can be carried easily from one place to another, faster and easily. Then finished products which are produced in a factory, they can be taken to different markets and different places easily. So this exchange of goods, carrying of goods from one place to another, this transport, this movement was easily facilitated with its development, which further led to the growth of the Industrial Revolution. So these are the factors which tell that these are the reasons why the Industrial Revolution began in England. Impact of the Industrial Revolution. What impact did this change have, this coming up of this factory system? One was the growth of industrial centers. So we see that many new industries like spinning, weaving, shipbuilding, these new industries were coming up. They were being settled in certain places, which led to the growth of those places as new industrial cities and towns. The northern England, it became the manufacturing center for industrial goods. So we see that many new industrial centers like Manchester, Yorkshire, these were coming up. Then there was a rise of capitalism. What is capitalism? It is a social economic system. It is a system of production. Here one major quality is that here the means of production, the way the production is happening, these means of production, they are controlled by one private individual. For example, like the Ambanis, there will be some rich person who owns these machines And the factory, he is a private owner, it personally belongs to him because he has too much of money. So he will have these factories and the machines. He will employ these laborers, workers, to come and work at his place, and then in return he'll be giving him some fixed salary. So this entire system, where the means of production, how the production is happening, it is owned by a single individual, privately owned by a single individual, is the system of capitalism. This is new system of production. This replaced the feudal system. This new system of production led to emergence of new social classes. Two new social classes emerged: the capitalists and the workers. Who are the capitalists? One who own the capital or the money. They are the one who own the factories, and they are the one who are controlling all the profit to be made. So they are owning the factories, the machines. They will employ laborers, give them fixed salaries, make them work for long hours, produce the goods, sell them at far off lands, make all the profit, and all this profit goes to the owner, to the capitalist. So they lived a luxurious life. Then there were the working classes. These worked as laborers in factories. They would go there, work for in very hard conditions, harsh conditions. They'd be working for long hours. They'll get a fixed salary. No matter how much profit is being made, they will get the only fixed salaries which is given to them. And so they were exploited by capitalists. They worked very hard for long hours in very harsh conditions, and they lived a life of hardship. So this new system emerged, resulting in the new social classes. Another impact was the urbanization. With new industrial cities and towns coming up, we see that these were the economic centers now. So people migrated. People like to move to places where there is a better standard of living, lifestyle is there. And also these laborers would like to move to a place where there are more job availabilities. So we see that large population migrated from villages to cities, to these industrial towns and cities. Eventually they got overpopulated. Problems of diseases and epidemics also spread. Like currently we see that Maharashtra is the most affected state due to the COVID-19. It is a very industrial center. It has the film industry. Many laborers, many people like to migrate and settle down in places like Mumbai and all, because of the good facilities, standard of living that it has, because of the economic opportunities that are available here. So it leads to overpopulation, which further leads to spread of these pandemics and these epidemics. So that is what it happened, urbanization. People migrating, moving from villages to these industrial towns and centers, and leading to the epidemics, overpopulation, and eventually leading even to problems like epidemics. So several industrial towns emerged, like the Manchester, Liverpool and all, and there was increase in population in these towns. Then another impact was the growth of the transportation system. We see that railway network was developed in England, roads were built, canals were dug so as to transport the raw material and the industrial goods from one place to another. Then another major important development was the opening of Suez Canal, which made the movement from England to India even faster. Now the distance was reduced, so raw materials could easily be brought in from India, and the finished goods could be dumped here in these markets. So that was also facilitated. So these were all the impacts of the Industrial Revolution. Talking about major inventions. Now we see that with the age of scientific inquiry coming up, there was this curiosity, inventions, discoveries happening. So these coming up of inventions of new machines only facilitated this industrial revolution. New machines came up which revolutionized the textile sector, the agriculture sector, the transport sector, which helped in the industrial revolution. So major inventions which happened, which led to the industrial revolution, are in the textile industry, spinning jenny by James Hargreaves, which speeded up the spinning process. Earlier it was done manually. A person would sit and do the spinning, which would take hours and hours and produce very limited amount of goods. But with this machine coming up, now it speeded up the process, manufacturing large amount of clothes in very short duration. Then there was spinning mule by Samuel Crompton, which spinned thinner yarn, producing finer clothes. Flying shuttle by John Kay speeded up again the weaving process. Power loom by Edmund Cartwright made the weaving process automatic. Cotton gin by Ellie Whitney, which increased the production of cotton. Then steam engine by James Watt, George Stephenson. It was one major, invention which revolutionized the transport system. The power supply, the energy was easily now supplied and made it easy. Then in agriculture sector, we see seed drill and horseshoe by Jethro Tull. It further increased the agricultural productivity. So these inventions also contributed greatly. They were the reasons why these factories set up. These machines made the production easier, faster, and led to large scale production, leading to trade, leading to profits. You can have a look at all the important inventions that took place. These are the machines which were installed at factories, which contributed to the industrial revolution.